You need a wife, and I need a dad, the little girl whispered to the CO, sitting alone in his car. The leather seats of the limousine were cool and spotless, too empty. The city lights stretched endlessly across the tinted glass, flickering like ghosts of a life half-lived. Inside, Nathan Hale sat slouched in silence, scrolling through his phone, pretending to care about the endless stream of emails lighting up his screen. At 36, Nathan had Bill Hale Capital Partners into one of the most respected investment firms on the East Coast. He had the penthouse overlooking the skyline, the car that drew stares at every intersection, the staff who treated his smallest word like gospel. And yet, that evening, on his birthday, he was alone. His driver, Robert, had asked gently, "Anywhere special tonight, sir?" Nathan had just shaken his head. "No. Home." He'd smiled faintly, a reflex more than a choice. There was no one waiting in that penthouse, no laughter echoing through the marble halls, no light besides the glow of the city. A birthday dinner with himself felt like punishment. The limo rolled to a stop at a red light in a part of town Nathan rarely noticed. The buildings were smaller here, the shop windows dusty but alive with real life, kids chasing one another, the smell of bread drifting from a nearby bakery. He might have gone back to his emails if something outside hadn't caught his eye. A small girl stood on the sidewalk, no more than 4 years old, her hair a halo of bright curls that gleamed in the fading light. She clutched a worn-out stuffed bear in one hand, her sweater a size too big, her shoes slightly scuffed. But it was her eyes that stopped him, wide, curious, impossibly bright. She was staring right at him. Nathan frowned, lowering his phone. The girl took a hesitant step forward, then another, until she stood beside the limo window. One small hand pressed against the glass, leaving a print like a tiny star. Then she leaned close and whispered something, her breath fogging the window. Through the thick glass, Nathan could just make out her voice. "You need a wife, and I need a dad." For a long moment, Nathan didn't move. The city blurred around him. His heart, quiet for years, gave a startled jolt. The light turned green, and Robert cleared his throat. "Sir, wait," Nathan said softly. The girl stayed there, looking at him with the unflinching sincerity only children possess. Nathan lowered the window, and cool evening air rushed in. "Hello there," he said gently. "That's a pretty big thing to say." "It's true," the little girl replied with complete seriousness. "You look sad in there, and I don't have a daddy. Maybe we could help each other." Before Nathan could respond, a young woman burst out of the laundromat across the street, her arms full of folded clothes, her voice sharp with panic. "Lila," she cried, running toward them. "Lila, what have I told you about wandering off?" She scooped the girl into her arms, relief and embarrassment washing over her tired features. She was beautiful in a quiet, unpolished way, late 20s maybe, with honey-colored hair escaping from a messy bun, freckles scattered across her nose. "I am so sorry," she said breathlessly to Nathan. "She didn't mean to bother you." "She wasn't bothering me," Nathan said, and realized it was true. She was just telling the truth. The woman flushed. "She's got quite an imagination." "Mommy," Lila said, tugging at her sleeve, "you said last night you wished I had a daddy who stayed. So I told him maybe he could be my daddy." Color flooded the woman's face. "Lila," she gasped, "that's private." "Why?" Lila asked innocently. "You said telling the truth is good." Nathan felt a laugh break free, soft but genuine. For the first time that day, something felt alive in him. He opened the car door and stepped onto the sidewalk, ignoring Robert's confused look in the rearview mirror. "I'm Nathan," he said, extending a hand. "Nathan Hale, and your daughter might be the most honest person I've met in years." The woman shifted her laundry basket, shaking his hand carefully. "I'm Emily Carter," she said, her voice steady but guarded. "And this is my very outspoken daughter, Lila." "Hi, Lila," Nathan said, crouching slightly. "You're very observant. How did you know I needed a wife?" Lila tilted her head, as if it were the easiest question in the world. "Because you were sitting all alone in that big shiny car. People who are happy don't look out the window like that. Mommy looks like that sometimes when she thinks I'm sleeping." Nathan swallowed hard. The truth hit, like a stone in his chest. "I should take her home," Emily said, glancing at the sky. "It's late. Really, I'm sorry for the trouble." "Wait," Nathan said. "It's my birthday. I was planning to eat takeout alone, but I'd rather not. Would you both join me for dinner? Just a simple meal. Nothing strange. You can pick the place." Emily blinked at him, startled. "That's kind, but we couldn't. You don't even know us. Strangers are just friends you haven't met yet." Lila chimed, proud of herself. "Miss Carroll at daycare says that." Nathan smiled. "Then Miss Carroll is a very smart lady." Emily hesitated, looking at Lila, who was clearly already imagining birthday cake. Her shoulders sagged slightly, worn down by exhaustion and something else. Loneliness. "All right," she said finally, "but somewhere simple, and we pay for our own meals." "Absolutely not," Nathan said with mock sternness. "Birthday rule. The birthday person pays. You can choose the restaurant." 20 minutes later, they were seated in a small Italian bistro tucked between two old shops. Red and white tablecloths, soft music, and the smell of garlic and bread filled the air. Robert waited patiently outside, still trying to process what his boss was doing. Lila sat between them, her stuffed bear propped in its own chair, babbling cheerfully about cats, crayons, and the unfairness of naps. Emily, still a little unsure, began to relax as Nathan asked about her life. Not in the polite, detached way of a man making conversation, but like someone genuinely listening. She told him she was a widow. Her husband, a firefighter, had died in an accident when Lila was 6 months old. Since then, she'd been raising her daughter alone, working as a receptionist by day and cleaning offices by night. Money was tight. Time was tighter. "I just want to have a good life," Emily said softly, glancing at Lila, who was busy drawing on her napkin. "Sometimes I worry I'm not enough." Nathan's chest tightened. "My parents died when I was a kid," he said quietly. "I grew up with my grandfather, good man, but distant. I learned to survive by working harder than anyone else. And I did. I built everything I thought I wanted. But somewhere along the way, I forgot what for." Emily looked at him, really looked, as if seeing past the tailored suit to the man underneath. "Maybe you were just waiting to remember," she said. Dinner came, and conversation flowed more easily. Lila made Nathan laugh. Real, unrestrained laughter that startled him. Emily smiled more, too. She spoke about her dream of returning to school to become a teacher. "Why teaching?" Nathan asked. "Because teachers saved me," Emily said simply. "When my parents fought, when I felt invisible, my teachers saw me. I want to be that for someone else." When dessert arrived, the waitress set down a small cake with a single candle. Emily blushed. The waiter overheard, she said apologetically, but Lila clapped her hands. "Make a wish, Mr. Nathan." Nathan closed his eyes. For the first time in years, his wish wasn't about profit margins or acquisitions. It was simple, more moments like this. More laughter, more life. When he blew out the candle, Emily caught his eye. "You look lighter," she said softly. "Maybe because I finally remembered what happiness feels like," he replied. That night, as Robert pulled up to Emily's modest apartment building, Nathan didn't want the evening to end. "Would it be all right," he asked hesitantly, "if I called you sometime? Maybe we could do this again." Emily hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Lila's right. You do seem lonely." "So are you," he said quietly. She nodded. "Maybe we could be friends." "Friends," Nathan agreed, though something deeper flickered behind the word. Weeks passed, then months. Friends became dinners, visits to the park, trips to the zoo. Nathan found himself leaving the office earlier, ignoring the endless grind of meetings. He showed up at Lila's daycare recital, sitting proud in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. He set up a scholarship for single parents returning to school, but secretly, anonymously, and told Emily about it only after she'd been accepted into a night program for teaching. At first, she refused his help, pride bristling. But he explained gently, "You've already given me something I can't buy back, purpose." Emily's resistance softened into gratitude. Lila, meanwhile, became a tiny matchmaker, scheming ways to push them together. She declared that Mr. Nathan needs family dinners, or that Mommy should sit closer because he gets cold easily. Both adults pretended not to notice, laughing quietly at her determination. But in truth, Lila's innocent meddling worked. Nearly a year after their first meeting, on a golden autumn afternoon, Nathan took them to a quiet park filled with ducks and willow trees. Lila ran ahead, tossing breadcrumbs into the pond, while Emily and Nathan walked slowly behind her. "She's grown so much," Nathan said, watching the little girl's curls bounce in the sunlight. Emily smiled. "She's happy. You have a lot to do with that." Nathan stopped walking. "Emily," he said, turning to her, "that day outside the laundromat, your daughter said something that changed my life. She told me I needed a wife, and she needed a dad. I didn't know it then, but she was right." Emily blinked, tears gathering in her eyes. "I needed both of you," Nathan continued, "to remind me what it means to live, to care, to love again." Her breath trembled. "Nathan," he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a simple ring, elegant but unpretentious, much like her. "I don't want to go back to a life that's all walls and empty rooms," he said. "I want laughter. I want bedtime stories and messy kitchens. I want you. Will you marry me?" Tears spilled freely now. Emily nodded, laughing through them. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes. Yay!" Lila squealed from across the grass, running toward them. "I told you you needed a wife, and I needed a dad." Nathan scooped her up, laughing. "Guess you were right, kiddo." 6 months later, they married in a small garden ceremony behind the same Italian restaurant where they'd first shared dinner. Lila, wearing a tiny white dress, scattered rose petals as a flower girl, her stuffed bear clutched proudly in her other arm. As Nathan and Emily exchanged vows, the city that had once seemed cold and indifferent now glowed warm and alive around them. There were no CEOs, no clients, no grand speeches. Just 3 people who had found each other by chance and chosen love over loneliness. For Nathan Hale, success had once meant wealth, prestige, and control. Now it meant something infinitely simpler and infinitely greater. It meant coming home to laughter echoing down the hall. It meant bedtime stories and burnt pancakes on Saturday mornings. It meant love that was real, imperfect, and alive. Sometimes wisdom doesn't come from boardrooms or mentors. It comes from a 4-year-old with a stuffed bear and a heart too big for her tiny frame. And sometimes the family we need most doesn't wait for us to find them. They find us, standing on the sidewalk, looking through a limousine window, exactly when our hearts are ready to listen. If this story warmed your heart, share it with someone who believes in second chances, in honest hearts, and in the small, miraculous ways love finds us when we least expect it.